You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, here we go, another Saturday night. It's April 2nd, 2022, and we are counting down the last days of the Watchtower. Stay with us. We've got some great stories to talk about. Hang in. Well, there you have it. Hey, welcome into the apostate capital of the world. Yeah, that's right up here in Boston. Now, why do I call it the apostate capital of the world? We call it that because we have a lot of apostates up here. I mean, more than what you would bargain for. And I'm so glad we have them all. We're in good company. Lots of apostates up here in the northeast quadrant of the United States. But these apostates are going to be coming to an area where you are around the world. You just watch. And, you know, I remember when I lived in Florida, there was a circuit overseer. And he said, boy, one of the toughest nuts to crack was up here in the northeastern part of the United States. A lot of youth was getting out back then. That was in the 90s. So we have a lot of people have left the Watchtower. Lots of Kingdom Halls closing down, lots of Kingdom Halls being sold. But anyways, my name's Rick Farron, and glad you can be with us tonight. I always say I'm in a good mood. I am in a good mood tonight. I enjoy, I go all week long trying to find the top stories, the top cynical, critical, negative stories in the Watchtower. And I'm so glad that when I see these negative, cynical stories, I feel good. I do. I like seeing the apostates getting points up on the scoreboard. And lately, they have been getting a lot up. And not only that, and I know I talk about this every week, but there are more and more countries that really are coming down. They're putting the hammer down on the Jehovah's Witnesses. Tonight, we're going to read about Spain. We're going to read about some other countries as well. So you stay tuned. More and more countries are saying, that's it. We have a cult living here. And they're cracking down on the witnesses. We'll tell you about that a little later. But what I wanted to say is this was a big week in the world, I should say, of Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah. Last night, April 1st, many went back to the Kingdom Halls for the very first time. Now, I know that a lot of witnesses did not want to go back. They liked, staying at home and Zoom, and they could put the Zoom on, then disappear or watch a movie. But now they got to get in their car. They got to dress the kids up if they have a family. They got to drive to the Kingdom Hall, burn up gas at $5-6 a gallon. They're not happy campers. The witnesses are not happy campers. But that's what's going on. So last night, word is coming in. I'm getting people emailing me and telling me, hey, Rick, we went to the meeting last night. And so far, it's kind of mixed reviews. Some are saying there was quite a bit of people there. Some are saying there wasn't many there at all. There's still a lot on Zoom. I'm sure they're using that as an excuse. But, I have got a clip. I want to show you here tonight. It's in Texas. And I want to show you this clip because it was on the news on how the witnesses are coming back. And it's about a minute clip. So let me get the clip. Let me get it up here so you guys can see it. And we'll play it and listen to what they're saying on the news about Jehovah's Witnesses meeting, returning to in-person worship after 2 years of not meeting in Kingdom Halls. So let's see what they're saying. Let me make sure we got this up so you can see it. Okay, we're going to share this screen right here. Let me just get that up. Okay. Okay, let's play it. I think we do have it. I think we do have it ready to share. Just bear with us here. Let me just get it here. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is out of Fort Worth, Texas. Let's bring it up here, and let's see if we can't. Okay, just give us a second here. Just wondering why that tab is not showing up. It's a tab that should be showing up, but it's not. But let's share this. It comes up as my email, but I'm going to put it right here so you can see it. All right, should be coming up right now. Just give us a second. You'll see it. Let's just go right back to the beginning here. This is out of Fort Worth, Texas. This is a clip on the news. Can you imagine this? Let's hear what he has to say. Well, why isn't no sound? Well, I don't know what's happening here, folks. You go crazy once in a while. Sound's working, it's not working. But anyways, it's on the news. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll kind of just say what he was saying. All right, no sound, but it's okay. So anyway, it was on the news in Fort Worth, Texas. And they were talking about how wonderful it is that the witnesses can now come back and meet at the Kingdom Hall. Well, let me tell you something. They're making a big deal out of it. And even this Hendricks, we talked about him before. He's a spokesman for the Watchtower. And he was on there and saying how wonderful it is that they're coming back and they're getting more people. They had more people. Now, this is not the truth. He says they had more people coming on Zoom meetings than they did before they stopped meeting. Can you believe that? I'm having a hard time with that one. But they're doing everything they possibly can to create this propaganda to make it look like, wow, we are growing, even though we've had all these problems. Well, let me just read a little bit to you from here. Let me just see if I can't stop this from streaming. Stop it right now. Yeah, okay. So let me read a little bit to you. I'm just going to read you the transcript of this. It says, after more than 2 years, virtual worship services, Jehovah's Witnesses have now been given the go-ahead to resume in-person worship as of Friday. Well, that was yesterday. Now, there are more than 50,000 witnesses who are part of more than 300 congregations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and there are more than 8 million witnesses worldwide. At the outset of the pandemic, starting in March 2020, most of the witnesses' kingdom halls were closed in favor of bi-weekly meetings conducted by Zoom or on Zoom. So that's what witnesses were doing. We all know that, right? They haven't been going back to the kingdom halls for 2 years, but now they're back, and it really isn't about in-person worship. That's what they're saying. It's this Hendricks, this guy that I can't stand, and I believe he's the number one spokesman for the Watchtower. He's a real snaky type looking character, but he's the one that's, I believe he's not telling the truth here when he says that, in-person worship is really not what it's all about. Well, of course, that's what it's all about. Other than that, you wouldn't be going back. He says the worship is all in connection to our Creator and in connection to each other, sharing our spirituality together, which we have managed to do beautifully in the last 2 years. Would you say that they could do that beautifully in the last 2 years? I wouldn't. So he says, despite the potential drawbacks of conducting remote meetings as opposed to traditional in-person services, he says attendance actually grew during the pandemic. I don't know about that, Brother Hendricks. I really, really don't. So with an average of 1.5 million people logging on each week. Yep, well, that's what they're saying. So I don't know. I'd like to really challenge them on that one. But, I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking. Nothing says more like cult than 100 people with masks on, and for the most part, in buildings with no windows. Can you imagine that? Going in and putting a mask on. You can't open the windows. What about ventilation? I mean, the COVID virus is still around. They're really suggesting that proper ventilation would be in place. But what about ventilation? What about ventilation when it comes to the Watchtower and their Kingdom halls? There is no ventilation. Many halls, they have no windows, so they can't open them. So, they might have to put some ventilation in. So, then what happens if someone in the hall has COVID? What happens if all of a sudden a person had it? Now, we know what happens in the workplace, or we know what happens when you've been exposed to COVID. They have to call all the people who have been exposed and stop meetings. So is this going to happen? What if someone contacts COVID? What's going to happen? Well, these are questions we could ask. So, yep, they started going back to the meetings, which would have been last night. So, like I say, I've got the reports coming in from different people. Some say the attendance was good. Some say the attendance wasn't that good. Is there anybody out there that knows anyone that went to the meetings, or maybe even yourself? Maybe you could let us know. I just want to mention one thing, too. We have a man here that's going to be getting his name is Michael Glenn, and he is on YouTube, and he is a person that is just a constant ridiculer. Please don't make any comments to this man. He doesn't deserve it. He's on YouTube right now, and I'm getting ready to kick him off of there, too, if he doesn't knock it off. I just want to mention that. So did anyone hear of anyone going to the meetings? Did anyone hear of anyone going to the meetings? And if you did, I'd like to hear from you. Well, it's going to be another week. Next week, we'll be able to report a lot more on this. So we'll wait and see what happens. We'll give it a week, and by then, we'll have a lot that have gone back. How would you like having to go to a meeting on a Friday night? Well, that's when I used to go to the meetings, too, for a while. Friday night is a terrible time to go to the meeting. It really, really is. You're done work, you're tired, you come home, you're looking forward to the weekend to some degree. So you run out there, you go to the meeting on a Friday night, and then what happens is Saturday, you got to get up and go out and service again. So, that's what happens. But I don't know.
We have Thursday here in the Mid-Atlantic, and nobody called me to invite me to anything on Friday.
Did you get invited to the memorial?
Not yet.
Well, more than likely you're going to invite you, Pixie. How long have you been out?
Well, I have not officially filed any paperwork to be out, but I'm ready to send them a thank you note for not inviting me to the memorial at this point. But nobody mentioned a Friday, April meeting, and nobody has invited me yet to the memorial. So it sounds like progress to me. I'm going to go to Elaine's on my YouTube and have a little sip here at home.
Well, you just relax, Pixie. You just relax, and it's nice being an ex-witness and not a witness. You can relax. You can sit down and relax.
It's wonderful to be free.
Thank you. Thank you.
The yoke is light, Rick. The yoke is very light. It's wonderful to be free.
Isn't it something? It really, really is. Well, thank you, Pixie, for chiming in with us. Always enjoy you coming in, saying hello to us, Pixie. Thank you. All right, now we got some countries. We have got some countries that are really coming down on the witnesses. And, we talked in the past here, the last month or so, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Belgium, and now we got Latvia. We have got Latvia. They're coming down on the witnesses. And I'm going to tell you, this is wonderful news. It is so good to see all of these people that are now speaking up about the heinous evil acts in the Watchtower, and the countries are beginning to listen to them. Now, in Latvia, I'm going to give you this headline. In 2021, an unprecedented number of people left the Jehovah's Witnesses. Hey, don't you love headlines like that? I'm reading that right from a Latvia newspaper. Now, Latvia, well, that's over there by Russia and Ukraine. So that's right over there. And 2001, as we said, unprecedented number left. It doesn't say how many, but many of these people, they were in 20 and 30 years. Isn't that something? 20 and 30 years. they approached the TV channel over there, and they wanted to tell what was going on inside the Watchtower. And wow, they said that, it's not pretty. And they got a listening ear from the government as well. And I have to say that the television station was saying that, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they hide behind beautiful words and slogans and promises. Well, isn't that true? Yes, the Jehovah's Witnesses do hide behind words and promises. And that's about all they are, is words and not actions. Oh, you're going to be wonderful. You're going to be living on the new system. You're never going to die. Armageddon's going to come and you'll right into paradise. So what we have here is a country coming down, Latvia, on the witnesses. And most importantly, why Latvia is concerned about the witnesses is because it really affects people's lives, not just adults who have voluntarily associated their lives with Jehovah's Witnesses, but also children born in Jehovah's Witness families. Now, that is a real problem. And now we have other countries too. Norway was looking at that. They didn't like the idea of children being indoctrinated. Well, the same thing is going on here in Latvia. Boy, it's spreading, isn't it, huh? And that's what happens. That's what happens. It spreads. In many countries, they see how they're dealing with Jehovah's Witnesses. So they say, let's look into it. Now it's spreading like wildfire. So the person who led this whole arrangement, well, he was in the congregation for 25 years. And he went to the news channel. And he had a number of other ex-witnesses too that went. So see, what the country of Latvia is concerned with, young people who remain in the organization are sacrificing their personal growth and development. In fact, their own lives. In reality, they are deprived of life. Would you agree with me on that? Would you agree with me on that? In reality, they are deprived of life. Yes, that's exactly what happens. A young person is deprived of life. The public is unaware of all of this. And this is something that is making sense. The more that you study the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I hope even witnesses themselves are starting to see this. Now, the more that one would view the Watchtower as a business, it makes more sense that all of this goes on. The more you view it as a religion, it makes little sense. But as a business, you can see it makes big sense. It brings big, big money in. So thank you, Latvia. Thank you very much, Latvia, for wanting to come down on the witnesses. And hopefully you can ban them too, or at least make it very difficult for them to recruit. And maybe that's something you can do. I know a number of other countries are coming down as well. So not Norway, for example. Do you know what's going on in Norway right now? Let me tell you what's going on in Norway. Jehovah's Witnesses are writing hundreds of letters to the government. Now, we have been reporting here on 6 Screens for the last month about Norway and how Norway is upset with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Very upset. And let me tell you how this all started. You guys probably remember anyways. But there was a young man, a minor, that was kicked out of his Jehovah's Witness home. And he was kicked out of Jehovah's Witness home because he no longer wanted to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So they gave him the boot. And this is not uncommon in the Jehovah's Witness world. So here we have a young man that didn't really stay with some friends, but he was so upset, that he went to the newspaper in Norway and reported to the newspaper. And the newspaper that picked it up was like a magazine journal. And it had millions of, at least 1.5 million. I think it was over 2 million, in fact, I'm not sure. But he had a lot of people that read that article. And they really pressured the government to coming down on the witnesses. So what the government of Norway did is they took away the funding. See, in a number of European countries and Scandinavian countries, Jehovah's Witnesses actually get funding for being a religion. The more people they have, the more funding they get. So in this particular case, Norway said, well, wait a minute. If you're going to be kicking minors out of their homes and you're going to be shunning people and you're going to be breaking families up and you're going to be hiding child molestation, we have a problem with funding you. So Norway has pulled the plug on giving Jehovah's Witness funds, and it's $1.5 million a year. Now, evidently, I didn't see this officially, but hundreds of Norwegian Jehovah's Witnesses, I guess witnesses from all over the world, as well as Norway, have been writing letters to the Norwegian government and saying, could you please remove the act of not funding the Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, that's exactly what they've been writing, and they're hoping that they're hoping the government will rescind it, but I don't believe they will. Now, many of these people writing to the Norwegian government, many of these witnesses, they're poor. They've never tasted a $1,000 bottle of whiskey. Well, it wouldn't be $1,000, but probably about 10 bottles at $1,000. They never tasted $100 bottle of whiskey either. So, they have a hard time. Most witnesses, they just have menial jobs. They don't make a lot of money. And so they just make it from month to month. Yet they still wrote hundreds of letters asking for money from public funds to give to their loved Watchtower. You know what I'm seeing here is I'm going through stories like this. Something that really is of interest to me is they make exceptions to neutrality. Now, weren't we, when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, weren't we always supposed to be neutral? Weren't we supposed to kind of keep our mouth shut when it came to political affairs? Well, what's going on here? Why is this an exception to have witnesses writing to the country of Norway when witnesses are supposed to be neutral? Seriously, we must be political neutral. How many times have you heard that? You couldn't even discuss a political view at the Kingdom Hall. But wait, it's perfectly okay now to lobby politicians if it means putting bucks, money, back in the coffers of the Watchtower organization. So, yeah, that's what they're doing. They're finding an exception. Isn't it something? Friends, doesn't the Watchtower, doesn't it aggravate you? Do you get ticked off at times? I do, because they're so wishy-washy. 1 minute you can do this and you can't do this, but they can always do it. The hypocrites, they can always do whatever they want, but they tell you not to do it. It is pretty much the theme in the Watchtower organization. So, let's stop and think about that. Excuse me. I got a lot of allergies here tonight. The pollen's starting to come out, so I'm starting to feel it. But anyway, so here we have Latvia. We have Norway in the news tonight. And we also have Spain in the news tonight. Jehovah's Witnesses, this is a headline right out of a Spanish newspaper. Jehovah's Witnesses take advantage of war conflicts to accentuate fear, indoctrination, and collective hysteria. Well, that's the headlines right out of a Spanish newspaper. So, do you think Jehovah's Witnesses take advantage of wars and conflicts to accentuate fear, indoctrination, and collective hysteria? Of course they do. Of course they do. Jehovah's Witnesses are interpreting the current Ukraine war as a fulfillment of biblical prophecies as applied to the sect. This is how Luis Santamaria analyzes it. He is an expert in Spain on cults. Well, he would be like Stephen Hassan here. So he's an expert in Spain on cults. And he says that once again, the millennial sect, Jehovah's Witnesses, takes advantage of difficult circumstances to accentuate fear, indoctrination, and even mass hysteria in its followers, according to former followers. That's what Santa Maria says. He's a cult expert. Several media outlets have echoed his analysis and have contacted former followers and psychiatrists. So now what we have Spain. They are now trying to get in touch with former Jehovah's Witnesses. They're getting in touch with their psychologists. They're getting in touch with the news media in Spain. This is wonderful news, folks. The world is exposing big time the Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, so Desiree Hidalgo, well, she's the editor of the magazine Closure, and she has spoken with many former Jehovah's Witnesses, and they've been expelled for many years. And she's seeing that these people, while they were in the Watchtower, suffered tremendously because of this terrible cult. Now, according to these ones she's interviewed, Jehovah's Witnesses take advantage of every tragic event just to justify the end of the world. I know you're going to agree with me on that one. I'm going to have nobody disagree, I'm sure. Yes, they take advantage of every tragic event to justify the end of the world. Friends, we say it here all the time. It's an old saying, but I don't want to beat it to death. But I'll say it here tonight. The Jehovah's Witnesses never let a crisis go to waste. Now, they're taking advantage of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It causes a lot of fear in that situation. Many witnesses are very fearful of it. This is Armageddon. This is going to happen very shortly. Friends, this is their modus operandi. They always do it. Yes, one witness who left named Pablo. He's been out for many years now, but he says he lived in an environment of Jehovah's Witnesses, which he himself was part of, but he was expelled. And he says Jehovah's Witnesses are taking advantage of this war. In fact, they take advantage of everything they possibly can to get people thinking their way. So, I mean, it goes on and on. It's a long article, but Pablo, he's 52 years old. He's a former Jehovah's Witness, and he was expelled from the congregation disfellowship about 7 years ago. It's not the first time they have done this. They do it every time there is bad news, like the Gulf War, the Twin Towers, the coronavirus pandemic, and now the Russian invasion. Yeah, they do it all the time. You guys remember the Twin Towers? You remember that when they collapsed, when the planes hit them? Oh, the witnesses thought that was Armageddon. They thought Armageddon was going to be here the very next day. Well, they took advantage of it, didn't they? Also, the Gulf War. Remember when the American troops went into Iran? Oh, the witnesses said, that's it. That's the start of Armageddon. And the coronavirus pandemic. You saw it, on JW broadcasting so many times. They said they're right. You can see it's all recorded. Oh, the coronavirus pandemic. This is the end. This is certainly the end. This is how it's going to end. So they convey a totally fabricated connection that they're trying to say is biblical prophecy and fulfillment. But they've been wrong so many times. How is it that one could possibly say that they have nailed it? Now, also Pablo and other investigators in Spain, they are really beginning to see how the Jehovah's Witness inner network works. They're seeing the very schematics of how the witnesses get people into their organization. And you guys know it anyway. Sometimes I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. But let me tell you, what happens with a new person? This is right in the newspaper in Spain. I think this is wonderful. I love reading stuff like this. It says when a new person arrives at the Kingdom Hall, a place of worship, everyone gives them an amazing welcome. Yeah, they call it love bombing, right? And then that person feels what is called love bombing, which is an explosion of love that is totally prepared for people to lower their defenses. Yeah. Now, see, the Watchtower has this all schematically worked out. They don't do anything on the wing. I like that term. So they totally prepare the people coming into the Kingdom Hall for the first time to lower their defenses by love bombing. Now, just stop and think about it. So you're going to go to the meeting for the first time. You're going to attend the Kingdom Hall. You hear about Jehovah's Witnesses, but you're not sure. So you're going in there a little bit defensively. So you walk into the Kingdom Hall and everybody comes up and they start throwing all this love at you. They're love bombing you. See, this lowers your defense. How can you possibly think these are bad people when you got all these people hugging you and, oh, it's so good you came? And I can remember I participated in love bombing. Well, maybe you did too. No, I can remember a sister coming up to me one night. Hey, Rick, I got my Bible study coming tonight. Would you come over and just, really give them a big old hug and let them know you appreciate them coming? They do this. This is what they do. And after a member of the congregation is entrusted with all of this love, then little by little, they hook you in. Yeah, these are techniques used by Jehovah's Witnesses to attract new followers. You know it, don't you? Yes, you do. See, Pablo, he's in Spain, ex-witness. He's convinced that the members are completely scared and following all the directives that the governing body sends them. So when the governing body comes on and scares the living daylights out of people about the war, scares the living daylights people out of them because of the pandemic, well, this is what you got. This is a cult-based fear and mind control cult. There's no question about it. They control your behavior, your feelings, your whole life. And they also supervise you. They tell you what to do because they have groups of judicial committees. Pablo says that, and this is all on the paper. I'm reading this from a Spanish newspaper. Pablo says that the members have actually, they become spies and they spy on each other and tell the elders if someone has committed a sin. Yeah, that happens. Pablo's right. They spy on you. That's what they do. So what you do, what this is nothing but fear mongering. That's all it is fear mongering. So that's all I can say about it when you stop and think about it. Well, let's take a look here. Let's take a look at some announcements. Does anyone have any thoughts on that at all? What do you think about these countries? What do you think about these countries coming down on the Jehovah's Witnesses? Isn't that something? I think it's wonderful. I really think it's wonderful that we got countries.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Thomas Hunt in Lawrence, Kansas here, Rick.
Yes.
Boy, that is wonderful to hear that. I just hope we can start seeing more action here in the United States. They're running behind. It seems like they're doing a little bit, but they're not doing near enough here. And I'd love to see that take place all over the world as well. It looks like to me it's gaining momentum. And I think eventually we'll see some activity around here. We sure need it, I'll tell you. Also, I was going to tell you, Rick, I went to a council the other day. I just thought it would be kind of beneficial. And I told her I was a former Jehovah's Witness. She said, yeah, I've had at least several or more former Jehovah's Witnesses that came in here. And she wants me to give her the 6 screens of the Watchtower phone number and everything. So the next time I go back, I'm going to give that to her. And I told her I'd like to really reach out to them. So I don't know if she'll be able to do that, but she might. But she'll definitely give them the conference calls. Now, she really wanted them. She was really happy to hear about this. Some of them are really having a struggle, she said, but they're making their way, and they're doing better through counseling. But boy, she said she can really see how awful and evil the Watchtower is. We talked about this some.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. That's good. My goodness, Thomas, that's a wonderful thing. Yeah, excellent. Well, no, thank you very much for calling in, Thomas, and sharing your thoughts with us. Who else? Anything else? Anyone else have some thoughts out there? Come on. What do you think about these countries? What do you think about these countries coming down on the witnesses? Do you think it's a good thing? I mean, you guys must have some feelings on it. Boy, I'll tell you. Well, I got a lot of people coming in tonight. I don't know why. I don't, there's trouble with the phone system or what, but normally we get a lot more people dialing in and saying things, but well, maybe you just want to sit back and relax. Maybe, it's spring here and you're getting spring fever. I don't know, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, go ahead. My friend, out of Michigan. Yes, Ken.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I would like to just comment too. I've been always hoping that they're going to come down on the Watchtower Society and they're going to start investigating them. We need it real bad here in this country. So yeah, congratulations to what was it, Latvia, for coming down on them and so forth. And I just hope that we can put an end to them sooner or later, because this religion has really did a lot of damage to everybody, and we just about lost, because of them, we lost just about all religious values here in this country. I was looking at some videos and everything like that, and religion and religious beliefs, especially in Christianity, is on a decline, and on a decline it's been for, quite a while here. So, yep, just one day at a time here. We just keep on hoping and that something will be done about this Watchtower Society.
Well, little by little, Ken. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you for checking in with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll keep listening.
Hello, Rick?
Yes.
I was thinking, for so many years, the Watchtower has tricked the government into thinking that they're a religion. But the government is recognizing they're not a religion, they're a cult. And there's a difference. I mean, some cults are obviously more cults, like that Marshall Applewhite with the Heaven's Gate. That's obviously much more of a cult. But they put it under the guise of religion, and you can't stop people from practicing what they want to believe, such as, something like the Marshall Applewhite group. So they're really fooling people, and the governments aren't willing to be fooled anymore. Their budgets are getting tighter, people are getting more restless, and they're realizing that, they're just not going to throw good money after bad anymore, especially when the Watchtower causes them so much grief as far as split up families and people on welfare and kids living in homes that aren't their family homes. And, they're always trying to play catch up with the mess that the Jehovah's Witnesses are making with families today.
Well, good comment, Susan. Thank you. Thank you for commenting. Appreciate that. Very, very good comment. Yeah. So anyways, lots of things are happening, friends. Lots of things are happening. Governments are coming down on the witnesses, and I like it. I mean, really, 16 years of reporting. I've never seen this before, but we now have government saying, that's it. We had enough. Now, listen, let's just remind you of the countries: Belgium, Sweden, of course, Russia. They kind of started the whole thing, right? So they kind of started it. Russia. We had some others as well. Norway. We had Belgium, as I say. So number of countries. Spain tonight. Latvia. Look at all these countries coming down on the witnesses. Boy, I think it's just...
Well, Norway is noted for having really good laws and things, so that's good.
Yeah, it's very good. Very good.
Well, let Thomas know there's a therapist with the last name of Zeman, Z-I-E-M-A-N, Bonnie Zeman, and she has written a book for therapists when they're treating Jehovah's Witnesses. It's an inexpensive paperback on Amazon. There's a workbook that goes for the client, the person going into the therapist, but there's a book for the therapist.
Well, there you go. I'm glad there's books for therapists. I mean, they need it, right? The people who are going to them
Because
need
they
it.
have great training, but there's special things that they would then understand of what their clients went through being a witness.
Well, there you go. Well, thank you. Thank you, Pixie. Okay.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Rick, I just wanted to tell you that I think you've had a lot to do with this getting around the world with the 6 screens, because it's been really booming and people are coming in from all over the world to listen to your programs. And I just think you've done a terrific job.
Well, thank you, Debbie. I had, in fact, I just, right before the program, I emailed a letter off to a fellow from Belgium, and he listens in every Saturday night. So his country, he's listening in. So, I'm sure between me and the other YouTubers and all of us together, conglomerately together, are making a big difference and raising the awareness of how dangerous the Watchtower is. So I think it's good when you start seeing countries coming down. I think it's a good thing. Thank you, Debbie. Okay. Okay, I think that's it for callers calling in. I'm going to the next story. I've been putting this screen up here. I'm going to share this. I want to share this letter with you. I get these letters from Atlantis. Now, he's an insider. I don't know what his position is, but I know he's got to have some big position in the Watchtower. But anyways, he sends me letters every single week, you could say, every time there's an announcement and reminders. Now, remember when you go to the meetings and they had announcements and reminders, and usually during the service meeting, they would do that. Now, what took place here is he somehow has access to these announcements that they send to the congregation. So let me give you the one I just got. I just would have got it 2 days ago. This is a bizarre announcement. But let me read it to you. And anyways, let me read it. March 29th, 2022. This is a letter that goes out to the elders. Now notice what it says. This one also went to full-time servants in the field ministry of the United States. For special full-time servants with a field involvement or enrollment in the United States branch territory. Let me just kind of reiterate. This is mostly for circuit overseers, maybe some zone overseers, people who are really into it big time. It says, since the suspension. Now, I want you to listen carefully. This letter, what creeps the Watchtower is. Listen to this letter. It says, for full-time servants, since the suspension of in-person meetings in March 2020, most of these special full-time servants in our branch territory have used their vehicles, much less than in the years past. So then it goes on to say, due to this unique circumstance, the governing body lovingly suspended the monthly amount for the automobile assistant arrangement that is reserved from the allowance of those enrolled in this program. Okay, let me just reiterate in case you missed it. So when the pandemic hit in March 2020, the circuit overseers and a number of other officials who were enrolled in the United States branch territory with assignments in the field, they weren't using their vehicles like they were prior to the pandemic. So notice what the governing body did. The governing body lovingly, is that the right word to use here? The governing body lovingly suspended the monthly amount for the automobile assistant arrangement. Now, if you were a circuit overseer and you were planning on $50, $100 a month, whatever they were giving you, and now all of a sudden you get a letter during the pandemic that the governing body lovingly suspended it. How could you interpret that as lovingly? See, this is words. These are loaded words. That's what the cult does. That's not a loving arrangement. So they took away their gasoline allowance during COVID. But now listen what they do. So since the in-person meetings are resuming on April 1st, 2022, we want to inform you that the amount for the AAA program, that is the Automobile Assistant Arrangement Program, is being reinstituted at this time. No doubt you will share our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to the governing body for extending such a thoughtful provision over the past 2 years. Can you imagine that? So, yeah, so there they
So
have.
are they saying that if brother and sister travel had a car provided by the society, that if their car broke down in the last 2 years, AAA didn't help them?
Well, it's not the AAA that we think of. It's their own. It's their own their own Watchtower AAA. It's called Automobile Assistant Arrangement. But yeah, they weren't. See, the circuit overseers and those traveling overseers, whoever they would be, if they were full-time servants in the organization, they would get an amount each month for gasoline expense and car expense.
Sure.
Now, during the COVID arrangement, they took it away and they referred to it as a loving arrangement. That is nuts. And now that they're going back to meetings, oh, the governing body, oh, what gratitude and appreciation you should have to the governing body because they're now bringing it back. The provision is now in place. Isn't that something?
That used to be called the carrot and the stick.
Yeah, I'd call it just a stick. I'll forget the carrot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I found that fascinating. I found, really, geez, the more I read about the Watchtower, I can't believe what they get away with. It's unbelievable. And people love it. It's a privilege to clean the toilet. Oh, it's a loving thing the organization took away a car expense during COVID. How do they get away with this? How do they get away with it? All right. We got another letter too. Now, this letter is really strange. I'm telling you, we're seeing some strange things come out of the Watchtower. But let me see what we got here. Let's get this other letter up here because I want you to see it. Now, this is, all right. Well, this is from the Toronto branch office, and this is for witnesses in Canada. But this is something, I don't know if you ever heard of this before. I want you to listen very closely because I don't know if you ever heard of this before. But it's the first time I really heard of them using this term, but maybe it's nothing new. It says now, this is right to the from the Canadian branch in Toronto. They're looking for full-time servants is what they want. They want people to come to Bethel, but listen to how weird this is. We are pleased to inform you that the worldwide order of special full-time servants of Jehovah's Witnesses, the order, and they have it in brackets. Yeah, this is now, they're referring to the full-time witnesses as the order. Now, I've never heard this before, but correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you have, but the order? So let me read the first sentence again so you get the gist of this. We are pleased to inform you that the worldwide order of special full-time servants of Jehovah's Witnesses, the order, that's what they want them to be referred to as, invites you to become a provisional member. So when you become a Bethel member, you are now going to be part of the order. You're going to be a member of the provisional order. If you accept this invitation, you will have the following enrollment: regular Bethel family member. It is understood from your application that you are wholly devoted to Jehovah. that you are in good physical and mental health, and that you are willing to do any work to which you may be assigned by the order. Oh my goodness, you're giving your life away, right? I'm reading this letter. Let me continue reading the letter. It says, if there has been any change in the facts presented on your application, such as the condition of your health, the pursuit of a courtship, the loss service privileges in the congregation, a change in your moral situation, increased financial obligations, or other information, please advise us immediately via email at such and such a place, and await for our response before making travel arrangements. My God, these guys, they get people to come to work for them for nothing. They're now going to be part of this order. And man, listen, yes.
Rick, I got to tell you this. That's an old term. That's from around, I think that may have started from mid-90s. They started calling them. I think we discussed that on Six Screens before. The Order of Bethelites, or order of Special Full-Time Servants, and it goes on and on. But that is something that was discussed.
Well, yeah, but hold on one second, Zachary. I mean, I never hear you refer to that as the order. But now, when you signed up,
yeah,
were you in the order?
I think it's a term that came in around the mid-90s. But if you remember way back when Johnny was on, it was the night that Joe Mason, Sheila, and I think I might have been on too. And Lovely Lil called in, and there was the big blow up. And I think that Henry associated with Jacqueline, the one she referred to, he asked about that term, order. And he said, what is this? So I'm just saying it is an old thing. It's kind of gotten, I don't remember as well now because years have gone by, but that is old. That started the first time I saw it was in the 90s. It was around 1995. I had an application. I had attended a Bethel meeting because I was ready to apply to go back. And that's when I first saw it on that application. And it preceded when they referred to it in an incorporated way. So it is old. That's all I'm saying. I can't give a coherent statement about it, but it is starting from mid-90s. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no.
This is Chewy.
Go ahead, Joey.
I got to agree with Zach on that. I remember when I was up there from 90 to 94, I had several conversations. Oh, what a privilege it is to be a member of the special order, of full-time servants. So, yeah.
Order of Special Full-Time Servants, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, no, in fact.
Hey, Rick,
yeah.
to me that sounds like almost witchcraft and demonic, because, the witches, they have like the order of the Freemasons are a secret society, and then we have the Watchtower Society, and all of their terms coincide with demonic things. But who do they talk most about? The demons.
I think
they talk more about demons than Jehovah.
A religious order. It's considered a religious order. So nuns are like an order, and priests they're an order. So I don't know if it's a legal thing or what. But
I think it is, Zachary, because
yeah.
upstate New York is zoned for monasteries. And I met a writer who's also a Zen monk, and he talked to me, and he lived in a monastery in upstate, and he said that upstate New York was zoned for monasteries.
Well, the Freemasons are a religion. The deeper you get into it, the more the members, as they get to the next degree, find out that it is really a religion, and they really worship Satan, and they're Luciferians, and they want to get rid of the Christians.
Well, they use Jehovah in some of their texts too, in the Freemasons. There's all kinds, because they've got so many degrees, and each degree has a different step. But as far as the Watchtower Society goes, they're zoned for monasteries in upstate New York, so that might be why they're using the term order now. I don't know how they're zoned in Canada.
I didn't want to throw a monkey wrench, and Rick did say if anyone, he invited someone to comment on it, and I'm just commenting on it. I don't think it's anything secret and dark. I think it's simply that they're using the idea of a religious order, because you think of an order of nuns, you think of priests, you know, they're in an order.
Yes,
I kind of
and they live in a monastery.
Order, and
the monastery has the wall around it, and it can be a Zen monastery or a Christian monastery.
I don't think that an order has to be in a specific place like upstate New York. I think it can be
just saying that the monk that I talked to, who was a Zen monk, not a Christian monk,
yeah.
They had let him in the Zendo publish a book. He was an Anglo guy, he's a white guy, but he had a shaved head and he's a Zen monk.
You have very good, interesting information, but I'm just talking about the religious order of special full-time servants. And Chewy obviously Chewy knows about it because he was there when it was called that, and there were no special walls or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let me step in here. Let me step in here.
What I'm saying is, they can get tax write-offs in upstate New York for their enclave, monastery, campus, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think the witnesses are definitely an exempt organization, and at church, sometimes they don't even have to file the form to apply to be tax exempt. Certain organizations do, but when you're a full out church and you say you are, I don't think you even have to file a 1023.
Yeah, well, let me step in here for a second, Zach. No, in fact, I mean, I haven't. I know the term's been around, but you know, I've seen plenty of letters here I read. But I'm saying that I agree with you. I agree with Chewy. I'm not beating up on the word, but you know, when I think,
I know.
When I think of I haven't read a letter saying that before. In 16 years that I've been on the network here, I've never read a letter concerning Bethelites as the order. So it's okay. I mean, I get it. It is an order, a religious order. I understand it. But here's the deal.
Yeah,
here's the deal. The thing to me is this reference order. I have to put a dark side to it. I mean, I'm not going to say it's satanic, but it's like entering the mafia. When you get in the mafia, you enter an order. Are you aware of that, Zach?
So what I'm aware of, Rick, is when you enter you go into Bethel service, or you go into into Gilead or whatever, if they even have it anymore, you are entering into an order. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no.
The idea that you mentioned before, the idea that they would say lovingly they're stopping the arrangement, you know, the automobile arrangement. Well, if it was loving to stop it, what do you say it is when you're putting it back into place?
Yeah, I mean,
what do they say?
Well, it's wording, but even on the order itself, let's just focus in on that for a second. I haven't read letters to that effect. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're the first to tell you that we're all the same. We're all the same. The governing bodies like us, we're all just witnesses for Jehovah. But you know, to actually throw a word in here, they evidently got away from it. But I see now that they're trying to make it more profoundly noticeable that there is a difference between the average witness and the governing body and people that are officials of the Watchtower. There seems to be a line in the sand that's been drawn. So now they're using this term again, and I'm sure they've used it before, like you say. I'm not doubting this.
I would think that any application for Bethel service or Gilead or whatever they call the schools now, any of those applications would have had that term on it all the time.
Yeah, but see what I'm smelling here. I'm smelling something that's foul smelling. Now let me tell you why. They are being investigated by so many agencies right now, including some of these countries that we just talked about. Now, the Catholic Church, as well as other religious denominations, yes, they do use the word order, like you say, a nun, a priest. But now, when you're in an order, you tell me what you had to do, Zach. You had to sign a vow of poverty, did you not?
I know you say that all the time. Vow of poverty, did I sign something that said vow of poverty? I don't remember doing that. But I think I had this discussion with someone else on here. What Bethelites are not supposed to do is they were not allowed to go out and get secular work unless they took vacation. If it were on a vacation, during vacation time, then they could work anywhere secularly, anywhere acceptable to the witnesses. But if it was, if they were not on vacation, they couldn't go out and get a second, a part-time job. That was something they could not do. But
let me throw in a point here.
Just clarify that the term order is something that is old, because I thought, Rick, you were saying it's something new, and I simply said, no, it's been out since the 90s with the witnesses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With them referring to Bethel service that way. It has been out since the mid-90s.
Well, it might have been out in the 90s, but here they're making it very noticeable in this letter. Now, they're putting it in like brackets. The order. They really want to stress the fact that you are in an order. And I believe the reason why they're doing it is for taxation. I think the government's coming.
That might be true.
I believe the government's coming.
But listen, it also, think about it. We're supposed to be entering with the governments around the world into a new world order. And we've been being taught that all along. Think about it. The Watchtower Society is evil. And the governing body members, they're all Freemasons. You have to just dig into the research. There is an evil going on there. Whatever religion wants you to sacrifice your kids because of blood, just think about it. They take all the joy out of life. You can't celebrate anything. It's all satanic. And this new world order, we've been taught all our lives, the new system of things, the new order. The new order was part of the vocabulary.
Let me just explain one last time, then I'll mute myself, because I didn't mean to say so much. I'm just simply saying, I was responding to your statement, Rick, when you said, if I'm wrong, tell me. I'm simply saying it is a thing that they started in the 90s, saying and referring to their full-time servants like that, special full-time servants like that. The order of, it's from the 90s. If you associate it with New World Order and all that, I'm not commenting on that. That's I didn't have that much to say about it. Okay, so
I wasn't arguing with you. I'm just throwing in the dark side of it.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I understand.
All right, all right, Jack. No, that's fine, Jack. No, yes, go ahead, Jeff.
Like you're saying, it's about taxation. And my comment is, it's all about money. This is what this organization is after, is money. And people need to realize that is the base of everything they do. Their intentions, their agenda is about getting money. They're really good with concealing it, but that's what their motivation is about money. That's my comment.
Well, good comment. And let me just say this. And of course, when I started the thought here on order, I never did say that they never used it, but I haven't been familiar with that term in the 16 years. Now, all of a sudden, they're using it and making it really noticeable in this letter by putting it in like brackets. But the other thought I wanted to bring up as well, when I looked up religious orders, priest, nuns, monks, anyone serving in a religious organization in exchange for housing and cost of living expenses would do this. So that's why the Bethelites should take a vow of poverty. And why Zach never did is beyond me, because the government says you have to do that. The Watchtower, would be on the hook. If they didn't take a vow of poverty, they would have to pay the Bethelites at least minimum wage. So Zach, if you didn't take that vow of poverty, the Watchtower owes you money. I'd be out there with my hand out. Really. You must have taken it. You would have had to. So I just want to bring that up. I understand that, Debbie brought something up too.
Rick?
Yes.
Rick, you're making a bigger deal of this vow poverty thing. I think that hearing it on, I didn't bring it up tonight, but you just now asked me, did I take a vow of poverty? What form does taking a vow of poverty, what do you mean? How do you mean? Did I sign something that said vow of poverty? Or did I raise my right hand and say I take a vow of poverty? Well, if that's the case, I never raised my right hand and said I take a vow of poverty. I don't remember signing anything that said vow of poverty.
Contract?
So if it's something that you
Part of your written contract?
Pixie, you just heard what I said. I don't know how many different ways to say it.
I hear you. I hear you, sir.
I don't know. I really, if it is a thing where, okay, you agree not to work or something like that, and it's hidden in the language, well, then maybe I did. But I never said, oh, I take a vow of poverty. It's not like that. It's not like that. I understood that you were not to go out. It was explained to us. You did day one on a Saturday. You start signing papers. Make sure you got your Social Security card there with you. So you do that stuff. You get papers and stuff. So in the whatever we may have signed, there could have been something saying, "Oh, I won't go work" or something like that. I don't remember anything being that that distinct, something sticking out at me like that.
All right. Well, let me Pixie. Hold on one second. Let me Pixie. Let me talk to Zach. Let me talk to Zach.
I think it's wait. Let me say this. Please, let me say this. And I think that
Okay, Zach, we're beating this to death. Zach, let's stop right there. I got to read the rest of the letter. And because what you're saying is not in sync with what this letter's saying. You're talking 20 years ago. I'm talking right now, 2022. It's different.
I only responded, Rick. I just now responded because you said you don't know why Zach never took a vow of poverty.
Yeah, well, I'm still wondering because it's right in this letter that you have to take it now. You have to take it. They're making it noticeable that you have to take a vow of poverty. It's in this letter.
Okay.
So they're really pushing this order. I haven't heard the term for 20 years. Now all of a sudden they're using it again because it's a taxation thing. They're in trouble with the government, I think. So let me read the rest of it. All right. As a new, in other words, were you called a provisional member of the order?
No, I was not provisional. I was a full-time, full-fledged Bethelite.
Yeah, so now as a new provisional member of the order, you will be willing to remain in your assignment for a minimum of 1 year. I know you had to do a similar. If you are uncertain whether you can make this commitment, you should advise us immediately using your Now it goes on to say, your time as a provisional member of the order begins your training for future years of service. We hope that Jehovah's undeserved kindness, you will serve in the order much longer. They're using this, they're beating the order to death here. During the coming year, the order will determine whether or not you qualify for continued service, either serving in this current enrollment or in some other category of service. Now, notice this. All provisional members of the order agree to serve on a provisional basis under a vow of poverty for up to 3 years. If you qualify at that time, the order may invite you to sign a final vow of obedience in poverty and continue your service in the order, again, the order, as a regular member. If the order determines during this initial 3-year period or at any time thereafter that you no longer qualified, you will be gone. They'll get rid of you. So I'm just saying here that this is really, and then now they're putting a lot of pressure on you too. I'll read the rest of the letter, then we'll discuss it. You will want to make sure that your dress and grooming meet the same high standards that is expected of the special full-time servants. Your dress and grooming should be modest and reflect the dignity of God whom we worship. I get that part of it. Now, whether at your assignment or during leisure time, your clothes should be fit Christian ministers. I agree with that. I have no problem with that. But what it's saying here is that you do have to sign this vow of poverty. Now, what is that? Well, I looked it all up. I mean, I know it anyways. I talked to Johnny the Bethelite about it. When you sign a vow of poverty, you were given a stipend amount of money, as you were, Zach, by the Watchtower. You were given a small amount of money. I mean, you can hardly buy underwear and toothpaste with it, believe me. So, right? I mean,
I was given $80 a month.
Yeah. So, I mean, that doesn't go too far today. And from what I learned, they're getting 120 now. So they upped the ante a little bit. So
it didn't go that far back then either.
No. So it wouldn't go too far. But the point is that any money, when you sign a vow of, see, here's what happens. The Internal Revenue Service, that they say, hey, wait a minute. If you're working for Bethel, you're working for the Watchtower, you got to make at least minimum wage in the state of New York or Toronto, wherever it is. You got to make minimum wage. So this is a way they're getting away from, and they want the government to really, they're really dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, because everyone's looking at the witnesses. We have countries, we have governments, we have agencies. They're looking at the witnesses right now. So they want to make sure that, geez, they're covered. Geez, if they had to go back and pay wages and Social Security, they're cooked. They're done. Forget it. Their money would be wiped out in no time. So they're really making it very clearly in this letter. You have to sign this. Now, you get your stipend amount. The government will say, fine, you can get a stipend amount to buy little incidentals and toiletries or whatever you need. But if you make any money, if you go out and someone gives you $100 because you're a Bethelite, you're supposed to turn that into the Watchtower. You're supposed to.
That's not true.
Well,
that's not true.
Well, maybe according to the Watchtower, you're saying that 20 years ago, but according to the IRS, it's true.
No, they didn't want you. They didn't want you to go out and work a job while you were in Bethel service, unless you went on vacation. If you took time off to work, that's okay. But if it was in your regular schedule, you're working in the morning from, what was it, 8 to 5, you couldn't go out and get part-time work in the evening. That's it.
Yeah.
The money that you had, you didn't have to turn anything over to Bethel. If you went there with money, you did not have to turn that over to Bethel. You could be gifted money. Somebody could give you money in your hand. You did not have to turn that over to Bethel.
All right. Well, no, that's Watchtower's laws. But I mean, now it's changed, I think, Zach. I think they're really starting to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. That's right. That's what I think. Yep.
Hey, Rick, I was a Jehovah's Witness for over 45 years. And for the whole time I was a witness that I can remember. I mean, when you went to Bethel, you didn't stay just 1 year. You stayed usually at least 2, if not 4 years, and you did have to sign, even back then, a vow of poverty.
So you remember that, Debbie, right? Yeah.
I think the rule is 4 years, and in the 80s, around the Ray Franz time, I think a change happened then, and it changed from a minimum of 4 years to saying that you would stay for 1 year, at least.
All right. So, but the point I'm making, and I'm thank you, Zach, for coming in and giving us that information is very vital. And I look at it in two different directions, even though the word was used in the 90s.
Let me say this one, and then I'll let it drop, because I don't know what the form is that it takes. I don't know if it's action or what, but I have all my letters, my invitation letter to Bethel. I have them all right here in the binder, and I looked through it, and it tells you what you must bring. It says all that stuff about having debts, or if you owe taxes, making sure you bring your social security number, settle any debts that you have with the IRS, get all that stuff straightened out. I have that here, and nowhere in my stuff is there something as well, I can't think of the word, but something that comes out and says vow of poverty. It says nowhere that you'll need to sign one. So
that isn't.
I don't know if it's a kind of thing at that time that was action based, based on what you did or did not do. But I don't. Any Bethel friends that I have, they probably wouldn't be aware of that.
Yeah.
As I am not.
Well, thank you, Zach. No, it's fine. I mean, it's not really like, a big issue, but the reason why, I bring it up tonight.
I only wanted to say that the referring to this as an order that started in the 90s, and I think when they started doing all these new corporations, then I think someone, when Henry asked, "What is this order?" and Johnny tried to answer it, but Johnny was using the 1 Corinthians 14:33 idea. God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. And so I came in and I said, well, no, it's like an order of nuns, an order of priests. They're using the term order like that. And then a sister who we used to know, she was a twin, she came in. I still remember it to this day. She came in and she said, and she started reading it off of something she found on the internet, and I think it may have even been just Wikipedia. And I recognized that the date that gave was a later date than I had actually seen it. And I realized that the difference sometimes is when an organization is formed, the question is it incorporated or not? Or is it just like an association or an organization? And sometimes it won't look, when you go and research it on internet, it will look like it's a later date because of the date of incorporation. It's just like the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. The first president of the incorporated organization is Russell. But when you see Connolly, if you look at that closely, it doesn't seem to say incorporated in the title. So those are little nuances that sometimes you have to pay attention to. It'll make two people thinking they're talking about the same thing. They'll be talking about something slightly different.
All right. Well, thank you, Zach, for commenting. Thank you. I just know, like I said, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's only that but I see they're making a big deal out of it now, because I've read many of these letters about Bethelites. Never saw the term here in 16 years, but I don't deny that it exists. I really, really don't. Hey, look, we're going to go to the next story here. We're going to go to the next story because I find it very fascinating. If you're on the Six Screens video suite, you'll be able to hear it. In fact, maybe I can even put it up there. So, we won't be able to do that either. But let me talk about this. This is Pope Francis. Pope Francis. Let's expand it out here so you guys can see it. Now, he was on he was on YouTube. Actually, he was on the news this week, and he was apologizing. Now, when's the last time you saw the governing body apologize? Well, they don't apologize. But let me see if I can play the clip. Well, it's in Italian, so you're not going to really see it. But let me just play a little bit of it, and I'll tell you what he's saying here. Let's see. Okay. All right. Well, there he is. Just a picture of him, anyways. You can see him. I'll tell you what he's saying here. Okay. I think you'll find it fascinating. He's apologizing, and that's one thing I'll give the Pope credit for, more than the Jehovah's Witness governing body. Pope Francis this week, you may have seen him on news, he's apologizing to the indigenous people for abuse in Canada's Catholic residential schools. Now, if you saw the news this week, you saw the Pope was apologizing for the fact that some of these children were abused. And he came on and he was so apologetic. Yeah. And I wonder, why can't the governing body, why can't they ever apologize? Why do they have to be so? Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say with the Australian Royal Commission, if people would do their research, that the Jehovah's Witnesses Watchtower were the only organization that would not make an apology. All the other organizations, I don't care, Jewish or Catholics or Protestants or what have you, that the Australian Royal Commission did an investigation on, made an apology. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, they made an apology. But Watchtower refused to make an apology. I just wanted to add that comment.
Well, good comment, Jeff. But, I'll tell you what, the Roman Catholic Pope, he's not just a glorified window washer. He's a pretty intelligent man. And those with well-founded, secure sense in their self-worth, people that have education, they have no problem with apologizing to people when it's appropriate. The Pope did that. And the Pope has apologized in more than one occasion. The cardinals, the See of Cardinals, have apologized for the abuse that they've caused for young people in Catholicism. But yet, where is the governing body? Where is the governing body? Just about every decent human being who is a kind person would have more honor than the governing body. The governing body is despicable. So while the problem of abuse in the Catholic Church is far from being eradicated, there's still problems in there, the Pope appears to have more honor than the Jehovah's Witness governing body popes, if you would. So, the governing body has never made a public apology to any of the victims. And you saw it, even in the Australian Royal Commission. You saw Jeffrey Jackson, didn't you? Lying. And when the prosecutor at the Australian court asked Jackson about these people that are being abused, these young kids being abused in the Watchtower, Jackson said it wasn't his department. It wasn't his department. That's a real cop-out, isn't it? Why didn't Jackson just apologize and say, I feel very bad. If there has been Jehovah's Witness children abused, I feel bad, and we're going to try to correct that. Never did we hear anything like that. A decent human being would certainly apologize without any question of any doubt. So I give kudos. I'm not going to get into the Catholic religion here, but I at least see they're different than the Watchtower. They have their own issues too, and they're hiding child sex abuse, but at least they admit it, and at least they step forward and were willing to pay the victims of child abuse. So the Watchtower, they're so unwilling to ever apologize about anything. And I'm just going to throw it out to the audience. Did you guys ever hear the Watchtower apologize for anything? Really? What do you think?
They've not even apologized on the 5th of never. They have never apologized to anyone at a local level or a national or international level. Now, I have my own problem with the Roman Church. I'm still working on forgiving them about the Inquisition. But I agree with you. This current Pope was a man about it, and he has, on 2 separate occasions, the modern Roman Church has said sorry for things that they have to work on.
Well, I find
Well,
that,
Rick?
yes, go ahead.
I was just thinking too, instead of the Watchtower ever apologizing or never apologizing, they turn it around and they blame it on the brothers and sisters, the rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses, for the problem, like 1975. They were blaming the witnesses, saying that they were overzealous in their interpretation of the information that they gave out, and that wasn't the case at all. And that's just one incident.
Well, there you go, Susan. That's a very good comment. That's a gold star comment. Yeah, they don't apologize. And I remember even back in the early 80s.
That's it, Susan. They blame the victims.
I remember back in the early 80s that the Watchtower was having these bedroom laws, and they were dictating to Jehovah's Witness couples what they could do in the intimacy of their bedroom. Isn't that sick? Who would give a man a right to tell you how you're going to be intimate with your mate? That is sick stuff. But yet they tried it back then, and it went over like a lead balloon. It really caused a lot of problems. Many, many Jehovah's Witnesses got divorced because of them with their nutty bedroom laws. So they retracted it for a while, a short while, and they had a retraction in the Awake magazine, never apologizing for all the marriages that they destroyed. They just said that we have made an adjustment. We have changed our position. But they go back and forth on that. But never did they apologize for all the marriages that they ruined. And I know an elder that was involved in these bedroom law juries, so to speak, in the back room with people. And many, many marriages were split apart. And that man, when he talked to me about it, he broke out in tears because he felt so bad that he ruined marriages because of that bedroom law doctrine. Unbelievable. Okay, you're on 6 screens, JW World News. Go ahead, you're on with us. Speak up.
Rick, you just mentioned that bedroom law thing, we'll call it. We won't get into specifics, but I know of several ex-Jehovah's Witnesses now that when they were married, their mate, their wife, requested that specific act, and being as a husband, they obliged, but the wife got guilty, went to the elders, and the brother lost the privileges. I've heard of that 3 times. 3 times I've heard of that. They said, oh, well, brother, you shouldn't have done it, you know? 3 times the wife felt guilty, went to the elders for bedroom activity, which is crazy, and the husband lost their privileges because of that.
Oh, yeah, no, that happened, Shirley. And how?
Yeah, 3 separate instances I've heard of that.
How embarrassing. How?
Yeah, so bedroom behavior between married people, that's the thing. How can a religion, well, cult, but how can a religion make you feel so guilty that what you do behind closed doors with your mate, as long as he was not abusing or hurting you, you get the guilt from what they say up on the platform, and then you report it, you know, and the husband, you know, loses their privileges. But now they are the wife and husband, I know 3 separate couples, they are no longer, not because of that, but they are, you know, they're no longer witnesses.
Oh, it was so terrible. And even this elder I knew that was involved in that, he broke out in tears that he had to do that. And I'm going to tell you something too. I'll tell you what, we've had about every high profile apostate you can possibly think of come on the 6 screens in the last 16 years. We have had everybody. The only person we could never get on was Ray Franz. And we came very, very close to getting Ray Franz on our program. But he kind of chickened out at the last minute, so to speak. And the reason was, this is an open forum and people can come in and call in, and it's very hard to regulate all the activity because we don't screen the calls that come into the 6 screens. But Ray Franz was concerned that if he came on the program, one of his biggest concerns was that, see, he was involved in that bedroom law situation. He was one of the architects of that. So he knew that that was a black eye in the mind of many witnesses, ex-witnesses, and many witnesses as well. So he was afraid to come on because he was thinking that, geez, what if we have people come on and start lambasting me for that? So that was one of the reasons why Ray never came on the 6 screens, because of that. But also, people have different opinions on it, but my opinion stands where it should stand, biblically. And when the Watchtower retracted what they said, in couples were having issues with it, when they retracted it, they said that they did make an adjustment. When they took it from the book of Corinthians, they were saying the Apostle Paul was talking about homosexual intimacies, not the intimacies of a man and woman. So, but it was in an Awake magazine. Well, why would you put an article of retraction in the Awake magazine? Put it out there and make an apology in your flagship magazine, the Watchtower. In the study edition, we now have made an adjustment. We are sorry. You never heard anything like that. All right. So that's what's going on behind the curtains this week. A lot more, though. We got more to talk about here tonight. So by all means, don't go anywhere. I'm glad you're with us. My goodness, every Saturday night we do this. And we're so glad that you guys can be with us here on the 6 screens, and all those people in YouTube and the video suite and on Facebook. Thank you. Thank you for wanting to come in and be with us. And we're getting momentum. We're not, we're not going for the moon here. We're not shooting for the moon, but at least we might hit the stars. So we're doing okay. We're very happy with what we see happening here. Now, I don't know if you saw this story or not, but I come across all these stories all week long. A federal judge has determined that a Jehovah's Witness woman failed to show that her employer discriminated against her. Well, that was in northern Colorado. Brenda Medina. Well, she was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and she sued the Safeway grocery chain. Yeah, she worked with them for 2 decades, 20 years, Moderna. Moderna worked with Safeway, and she claimed that the Colorado Safeway store, they had her have to take an unpaid leave during the holidays because she refused to ask customers for turkey bucks and Santa bucks. These are donations. So she's a cashier. And if you came up to Moderna or any cashier at a Safeway then, they would ask, did you want to donate some money to turkey bucks or Santa bucks? Collecting money for poor people. That's what they were asking her to do. So as a Jehovah's Witness, Moderna, she objected because she didn't celebrate those holidays, just like we didn't when we were Jehovah's Witnesses. So I'm glad to see that on Friday, just yesterday, a judge, Nina Wang, well, that's her name. She sided with Safeway. She said that, after reviewing the case, there were alternatives that Safeway gave to Moderna so she didn't have to violate her conscience. So she sued them anyways. Mrs. Moderna, she had problems with Safeway. She was looking for payday is what she's looking for, folks. That's all. They said, well, okay, Moderna, here's what we'll do. They tried everything they could to make Moderna happy after 20 years working with Safeway. They said, okay, Moderna, you don't have to ask for turkey bucks or for Santa bucks, but why don't you just ask if people could donate to the Larimer County Food Bank instead. Well, Moderna, no, I can't do that. The company then offered to assign Moderna to another position in the store that did not require her to ask for donations. Moderna declined, and she sued Safeway. She lost. It seems like she was looking for a payday. So, what a big fat settlement she was hoping for, well, it didn't come to fruition. I mean, Safeway bent over backwards, folks, to accommodate her ridiculous objections to her holiday customs. And, this is really, if you have witnesses working for you, this is one of the things. How can you run a business with a Jehovah's Witness who doesn't celebrate holidays? They have all kinds of superstitions. How can you have a person work for you like that? I mean, really, think about it. But, when I was a witness too, I had a conscience and certain things I wouldn't do. And it's crazy now that I look back on it. But maybe you didn't do certain things either. But boy, I'll tell you, this woman, I mean, when you're given alternatives, okay, you don't have to ask for turkey bucks. You don't have to ask for Santa bucks. But how about just ask for food for the donation? Nope, they didn't. So there you go. Looking for, well, why do the witnesses do this? Why would they even want to be in the news? You can see she's looking for money for nothing. Thank you, Judge Wang. Thank you, Judge Wayne, for shutting this woman down. Hey, you're on with us. Did you have to do things where you worked that you didn't like? Did you ever feel conscientious because your employee was making you do things?
Not on the job, Rick, but I remember here in New York about 20 so years ago, it made a little blurb in the paper that a teacher witness, she taught either kindergarten or first grade. She told her students that there's no such thing as Christmas or whatever her exact wording was, and she lost her job. I believe if she wasn't suspended, I think she lost her job because of that. I think pretty much sure that's the way it went. It was like 20 years ago, but I remember that because she was telling little kindergartners and first graders that Christmas is a lie or whatever her exact wording was, and it came up against the Board of Ed or that whatever, and I think she lost her job. But I've known many witness teachers, and they have said that they don't do that to their class. They said they let the kids, they don't, go around saying Merry Christmas or whatever. They let the kids do the decorations and do their little things. I've heard that from quite a few witnesses, teacher witnesses. They don't go say, oh, there's no Christmas. I can't, our class can't do anything because they know they would be in trouble with that. But this little pompous kindergarten teacher took it upon herself to preach, to her little 5 or 6 year olds. There's no Christmas. There's no her exact wording. I don't know, and she did suffer the consequences to that.
Well, yeah, they do. In fact, the sister Moderna, I'm thinking maybe she was thinking, oh boy, I can sue these guys. They get big money. Safeway is a big company. Maybe I get $1 million, and maybe I can go in the full-time service. But could you really feel good? I mean, if you were a real Christian and you sued someone knowing that you could have accepted other alternatives, and so you got the $1 million, could you really go in the full-time ministry and feel good about it? Really? Could you really do that?
Yeah, they would, but no problem.
Yeah?
They would, yeah.
She's got a little bit of a mental disconnect there. I do think she was going for the gold because I remember feeling guilty as like a third grader for cutting out a holly leaf in art class, thinking, well, I'm going to lose my salvation because the art teacher's insisting that I participate, and I was usually A+ in art, but I really didn't want to do the Christmas project. And then you grow up and you have to go to these Christmas parties at your various offices you've worked at, and you say, no, I can't go to the Christmas party. And then you've got people bringing you a free coffee mug for Christmas, and they don't understand why you don't accept it. I mean, it borders on wacky because, like, even the Hindu guy at work was accepting the coffee mug.
Oh, yes, you're right, Pixie. You're absolutely right. It does border on wacky. I like that. It does border on wacky. And I have to even...
And you really believe it, at sometimes in your life. We've all believed this at sometimes. We've all said no to the Christmas party. But this woman, like you said, she was given the option of, well, do you want to donate to the food bank? So she had a script that didn't even say Santa in it, she certainly could have used that as a witness, and that would have been okay when she was checking out the groceries. So there's a disconnect in her brain, because it would be okay to use the word food bank.
I would think so. I mean, why would you have a hang up with asking people to donate to a food bank? I suppose you'd say, well, they're not donating to Watchtower, right? I don't know what the hang up would be there, but
Me either, because it's just for the poor. You
Yeah.
know, she didn't have to say the word Santa. They really bent over backwards for her.
yeah.
So I'm agreeing with you. I see that she had a disconnect there. I think she was after the money.
Well, you know, Pixie, we all had that conscience. I'll tell you that conscience in the Watchtower. You couldn't even sleep at night. I mean, I remember my conscience used to bother me so much. Oh, Jehovah's not going to approve of me doing this. Oh, Jehovah doesn't love me. I mean, really, we all went through that. And I'm going to give you my experience. I worked for a company. I was very young at the time. I was only like 19, 20 years old. And I was a salesman. I was selling chemicals to car dealerships, you know, like engine cleaner and shampoo and stuff
Sure.
like that, white wall cleaner. And so I was with these guys for a number of years. So I was doing good with them. I had a good old job. I liked it. So, anyways, around Christmas time, you know, they wanted to have me come to their Christmas party. So I would go to the boss and I'd say, you know, really, I can't come to the Christmas party. I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses and we don't celebrate Christmas. So I really can't go there in good conscience. So what they did is they concocted this plan that it wasn't a Christmas party because they wanted me to go there. So they said, well,
Sure, they want you to be a happy employee or a happy associate.
right. That's what normal people would do to make other people happy. So they came to me, the two bosses that own the company, and they said, now, Rick, you know, here's the thing. We know you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but, you know, it's really not a Christmas party. It's a year-end party. It's a year-end party. It's, you know, we have to bring all the people together and have a nice party, but it's a year-end party. So I was able to go there on the basis of them calling it a year-end party. But Pixie, it was a Christmas party. It was a Christmas party. But I could at least justify in my mind how wonky is that? You know, really.
I know. And then when they're giving you, you know, delicious food, you're like, well, is this Christmas food? You're rolling it around in your head until you finally get free of it all. It's craziness. And we've all done it.
Yeah. I mean, even to the point that, you know, you would go to the buffet table, you know, they have a nice spread. And so you'd eat something, maybe you'd have like some cheese and crackers and some rolled ham or something. But if, you know, a cookie had Christmas decorations on it, you wouldn't eat that, right? I mean, that's how crazy it was.
Yeah, and you really want to eat that. You really want to eat that good-looking cookie, but you're like, well, is this a pagan cookie? Is it a Christian cookie? I can't celebrate Christmas. What kind of cookie is it?
Oh, but Susan, I mean, really, when Pixie, when I
Brains going around and round.
yeah, when I stop and think about it, it's just so crazy. And then another thing too is, you know, at the around Christmas time they had like gifts. I had all these car dealerships I was selling chemicals to. So they would say, okay, Rick, now all of your car dealerships, you got about 100 of them you're selling chemicals to. I want you to give these guys a Christmas gift. Oh, I mean, what are you going to do as a witness? Oh, no, no. I cannot give Christmas gifts. I'm sorry. Well, Rick, no, it's
Right.
not. It's not a Christmas gift. No, it's not a Christmas gift. Sorry that we mentioned Christmas. It's a year-end gift. So I could do it on that basis. How is it your mind can radically change on that and feel comfortable?
It's crazy. And
Yeah.
I was on such a limited income, and I took a salary cut to work at this one place. I loved working with the people there. And I really wanted that coffee mug. I needed that coffee mug at work, and I had to tell them no. But one thing I noticed in the witness material in one of the Watchtowers, I think it was about 10 years back, they said, if you're working on Wall Street and you get a year-end bonus, make sure to realize that you can keep your year-end bonus. So once again, the rich witnesses, we're down here at the bottom rung, but the rich ones, if they get a Wall Street bonus, that's a year-end bonus. That's not a Christmas bonus.
You got it. That's exactly how you rationalize. Your mind tosses
No,
and
they officially told their people in print. It was printed in their magazine. If you get a year-end bonus on Wall Street, you can keep it. And I'm like, wow, that must be a pretty nice bonus to have down here in the level I'm at. I didn't get anything like that. I barely had $20 to get some cake.
Well, here's the thing. That's what used to bother me about the witnesses too, with these year-end bonuses, the Christmas bonuses. Now, it's right around Christmas time. And, that's when businesses, if you're working for a company, they'll give you a bonus. Sometimes it
It's
might.
the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah. So I suppose you could rationalize and say it's year end, like I did with rationalizing with these guys I work with. But, for someone, okay, so here's the deal. So let's go with this. So you're a postman and you're Jehovah's Witness postman. You're going door to door delivering mail. So Mrs. Smith comes out and says, "Oh, Mr. Jones, I got a gift. I got a Christmas card and a gift for you." I mean, they would take it. They would take it. Very few witnesses I know refuse Christmas bonuses. I don't know. I just can't make sense out of what the witnesses and how they behave. It's just absolutely ludicrous,
It was
Pixie.
crazy making.
Yeah,
It was crazy making behavior. I'm not surprised that a lot of them need all kinds of therapy, and more power to you if you leave and get some therapy, because it'll help you. Because they whirled your head around so much on so many things.
Well, I have to tell you too, just speaking about this Safeway and the woman that was trying to sue them because she wouldn't, she didn't want to give out turkey bucks and Santa bucks. But, I had a business. I was only 27, 28 years old at the time. And I had a very successful business being a young person. And I was a Jehovah's Witness. And I had a company and I had 30 people working. And half of them were Jehovah's Witnesses and the other half weren't. But I'm going to tell you something. It was really difficult having Jehovah's Witnesses work for me. It was more difficult than having just the worldly people. The worldly people were, I'm serious. The witnesses, come assembly time. Okay, we're going. They had no concern for you at all. And they would all go and leave me basically hanging. Okay, Rick, we have to go to the assembly. Jehovah wants us there. You couldn't deal with these people. And I'll tell you what,
Right.
by having Jehovah's Witnesses working, now I'm not going to say they were all bad, but I'm going to tell you what, between the worldly ones and the witness ones, I have to say the worldly ones were better workers. They were more honest. Yes, I do. I say that. Yes.
Well, I'm as honest as the day is long, but I have to admit that sometimes I have socially awkward moments, because I think that if you've spent your childhood as a witness kid, you don't, even the brightest, most best balanced ones like me, good looking and smart and all like that, if you were a witness kid, you don't always get the social clues.
Wow. Well, Pixie, my goodness gracious, you've been around long enough. You know how this organization works, and I'm still trying to find out how it is. I lose sleep at night sometimes, and I wake up in the middle of the night and I say, how is it that they pull this off? Because I have a good 50, 60 relatives that are still Jehovah's Witnesses, and I wonder how.
And your cousin from Boston.
Yeah, and I wonder how is it? How is it that these guys pull this off? This is unbelievable.
I think they have a stupid test, Rick. I think it's a corral for the stupid people.
Yeah.
And I'm a bright person, but I was born in. I think anybody that converts to it is either super, super emotionally needy or stupid as a stick.
I'm with you. I have to agree, because I have no explanation. I just cannot figure it out. But one thing I wanted to bring up too, where we got some other stories I wanted to talk about here tonight, and something caught my attention. I got thinking about it. There's a lot of creeps and weirdos in the congregation. I had them.
Nowadays, it didn't used to be that way. It seems like it's more and more and more and more.
Well, Pixie, even I have to tell you that even back then, there's probably more now.
There were back then, I'll admit it. Yes, there were.
Okay, but we've got, so what I've experienced, even the congregation that I was in, and creeps and weirdos. Well, they were in my congregation, and I'm sure some of you guys out there too. You were in a congregation that had creeps and weirdos, and I always wondered what is it with some of these people? Why is it that we have these oddball people? Now you got to find oddball people in every organization. So I'm not going to say the witnesses are the only ones that have that, but they sure have an awful lot of them. I mean, they go above and beyond their line of duty to recruit weirdos and creeps. But I'm getting this all now as I've been researching Watchtower and doing our programs here every Saturday night. I'm coming to grips. I'm finally starting to come to grips with what's going on in the Watchtower. First of all, you have many outcasts of the community that are welcomed into the Kingdom Hall. Did you ever think about that? So
Yes, I have thought about it.
so,
yes,
so
I have.
there's a lot of outcasts, a lot of people that have issues with life that are openly welcomed in, come into the Kingdom Hall. So no wonder why there's serious problems and crimes committed in this cult. So that's
And also, too, with the people that have a prison record.
yes. Well, they go for
in
those.
recent years, not so much in my childhood. There were some pedos in my childhood, but in recent years, I don't remember from my childhood any people with prison records. Everybody seemed pretty honest, even if they were hiding other secrets. But in recent times, from the age of me being about 30 and 40, I noticed back in the 70s and 80s that seemed to be that these brothers would be witnesses, and they had been converted in prison, and there they are at my Kingdom Hall.
Well, that's where they land up. A lot of them do. And I can remember in my hall, as well as when I go to conventions and assemblies, and I'm gonna give you a term here that we never used here in the 6 screens, but because of all the pedophiles and child sex abusers and what have you in the Watchtower, I can remember many of these men. I'm going to call it the creep walk. The creep walk.
Yeah.
Now, what is a creep walk? Well, the creep walk is these men. I remember them doing this. They would these men would hold their hands behind their back, and while bending down to look at the little girls. I never really.
Or the little boys.
Oh, the little boys. Now that I'm not trying to, raise the roof here on this, but I can remember men doing that. Now, I'm not going to say that everyone that does the creep walk is a pedophile. I certainly wouldn't say that. But I mean, that is a creepy way now that I think about it. So, a lot of these halls, they had they had these creeps. And boy, now that I go back to and I think about it, and so many girls, even though they didn't speak about it then, they're coming out now as ex-witnesses, and they're saying how men, whether it be even elders and servants and just regular Jehovah's Witness guys, would look at them and they would get obsessed with them. And it caused a lot of strain for young girls and boys, as you would say, but mostly girls.
It did, but
yeah.
I know in recent years, I've met people that have left that I met in other venues. And I'm like, well, I remember you. And maybe they were in a different town or something. But without naming anyone, several young men, now older, now my age, they suffered.
Well, but I'm sure every organization has these people. But like I say, because a lot of these people are outcasts, they're invited right into the Kingdom Hall, and they'll come right in.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that I heard, I never saw it, but I heard that a lot of times when witnesses were sent to prisons, that the pedophiles were the only ones that would talk to them. And where would they go once they got out?
Right.
Kingdom Halls.
Right to the Kingdom Halls, yes.
Because they were accepted.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, why don't you tell us what you did the other day with your Kingdom Hall out there in Iowa?
I want to let everybody know that, every Kingdom Hall's got a website, and they have, where you could give an opinion or, I don't know how to put it.
A comment.
A comment, yeah. And my comment was that they were a high control group, and they shun people. I went on to say everything that I experienced there. So I encourage everybody to go to whatever local Kingdom Hall they went to, and give your opinion. It's a public opinion. It's free, and it's still on there. So they weren't able to pull it off, or they haven't seen it. Especially with the memorial coming up, people ought to see that.
Yeah, well, good for you. I give you gold star for that. Good for you doing that, Jeff. Good man. The more we expose them, the better we are. Now, how about anybody out there listening in the audience? Did you have a creep in your congregation? Did you have a creepy person that kind of gave you the chills? Or was it just me? Were there any weirdos in your congregation? Let me know. What do you think? Did you feel uncomfortable around some creepy person? Maybe it could be a man or a woman. I mean, also a woman could be a little weird, right? Yeah, I've seen those too. What do you think? Did you have any? Geez, we had a lot of people listening in here tonight. I can't believe that you didn't have any weirdos in your congregation. I know I had some in my congregation, and I was a little afraid at times, really, for my wife, my former wife, to be honest with you, the way some of these people act, even for my children. I was afraid to have them really be around some of these people. So, but they're out there. All right, so creeps and weirdos in the
Some
congregation.
things that I saw too, and this was in
Vic, hold on,
different
Pixie. Let's see if somebody else. Let's see if we can get somebody to come
Well, I
in.
was just going to say there's a lot of poor souls that didn't get the glamour. There's always the witness family or the witness young guy. And then there's a lot of real nice Christian people that are they're poor, or maybe they're a little strange, and they're just sitting there and really want to know God, but it's like they're ignored.
Yeah. Well, no doubt they are. But okay, I guess we're not getting many takers. I mean, I throw stories out, but I like to get takers on it. But I guess we're getting none here tonight. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, just what you mentioned about women. I'm not going to say this sister was a weirdo, because she's a very nice sister, but it was kind of strange. I'd never seen anybody do this. This was an elder's wife, death the congregation. She'd go around with a bag of candy, and if she saw a young sister with a dress that she thought was too low cut, she'd throw this candy down her dress.
Well, that's weird. I mean, that's weirdo behavior. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess there's different people do different things, Randy. My goodness gracious. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. My goodness. Yeah. Well, they're out there. I mean, maybe you guys can't think of any off the top of your mind here tonight, but you'll probably think about it later tonight, laying in bed. All right, let's take a look here. We got a few minutes here. We got about 15 minutes left. Then we got Dan and Angela. They're coming on tonight. They have a guest named Laura. She's a former Jehovah's Witness, and she left the organization. She really began to see what narcissism is all about. She's coming on Dan and Angela's program tonight, right after this one, which will be on YouTube. So Dan and Angela tonight, they're coming back. They haven't been on for 6 weeks. They've been on a little hiatus, but they'll be on with us tonight right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. All right, I want to just throw this out on the table. I've been noticing this. I've been getting information coming into the 6 Screens that something very strange is happening in the Watchtower. Now, I don't want to say that this hasn't always happened. I don't want to, have a million people say that this has been going on for years, because it has been, but there seems to be an increased age gap in PIMOs, that is, people who are physically in and mentally in. PIMIs, I'm sorry, PIMIs. There seems to be an age gap in PIMIs, people who are full-fledged witnesses getting married. Now, this has been pretty regular information coming into the sixth screen, so I have to address it here tonight. In the last 5 years of doing the program, I see there's a big uptick in age gaps between people getting married in the cult. Well, what do you mean? Well, what I mean is this. It seems like there's an awful lot of older men marrying very much younger women. Now, I'm not just talking, 3 years, 7 years. I'm talking 20 years. This seems to be happening a lot. And the average, from what I've gathered here, I can't say with full certainty, but the information I gathered here at the six screens, the average is about 12 to 15 years difference. Now, I'm not going to say that a marriage is not going to work because a person is 12 to 15 years older, but it's more difficult. Let's go with that. It's more difficult, and there's quite a disturbing amount of young women that seem to be, well, getting involved with older Jehovah's Witness men. Now,
This is what I saw culturally my whole life. And I was in the big city, and I was also visiting in rural areas. So I saw this 20 years ago.
oh yeah, but Pixie, it's even happening more now. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to sit here in my little studio and shout out to the world that, it really, I'm not going to say that age really matters. If a person falls in love and they really love one another, well, that's fine. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But in the world of the Jehovah's Witness, what is happening, and it's always been this way, there was far less women. I'm sorry, I got this the other way around. There's far less men in the organization than there are women. So what's that do? Now, you're told as a witness, only marry a Jehovah's Witness. So, the men, they're harder to find. So some of the women, in fact, I've been seeing some things I'm reading on Reddit and JWN, some of these forums online, that we have so many Jehovah's Witness women that they are desperate. They will take any man that comes down the pike. And, this is something I noticed, too, when I was in the Watchtower. You'd have this really unattractive man really hooking up with a really attractive sister. And I'm saying, how does
That's
that?
the formula.
I'm saying, how does that
And
happen?
usually he's older.
Yes. So I've seen this even myself. Now, I'm not bragging here, but I had two really attractive young ladies. I had 4 daughters, and I mean, they're all beautiful. But the 2 youngest ones, my goodness, they were drop dead gorgeous, so to speak. Of course, I'm bragging here a little bit, but they were pretty. They were really pretty. They were beautiful. And man, geez, I would be getting knocks on the door from all these unattractive Jehovah's Witness men. I mean, not only looks wise, but even just their personalities. I'm saying, what is the calling card here? 2 beautiful girls, and they got all these kooks knocking on the door looking for them. So,
Did they marry a building contractor? Because that's witness gold if you can marry the guy that can build you a house.
Yeah. So these are things that, I'm not trying to look, and I'm not trying to upset the apple cart here. I'm not trying to be a matchmaker. I'm just saying that I'm seeing things here that are strange. I'm seeing things that are strange. And a lot of these witness marriages, I used to say they were made in Brooklyn. Well, he's a pioneer. He's a good servant. Oh, look at her. She pioneers. You'd make a great couple. And I can remember one of my daughters, I was out in service one day, and, so I'm in the car with this woman, and she's an older woman. She says, well, Rick, don't you think this guy is wonderful for your wife? what a good man he is. He pioneers, he gives great talks. I mean, is that the prerequisite for marriage?
Well, unless he's a building contractor, he's probably broke and uneducated.
Really. So is that the prerequisite? And she's saying, well, he's a good man and he loves Jehovah. I mean, there's a lot more to the equation, but witnesses don't take it all into account. They, especially some of the younger women witnesses, they're willing to jump at the first guy that comes down the pike. And a lot of these marriages don't end up as a great story. They're not.
Sadly, they don't. It's a strange subculture, and in some ways, it has almost the child brides of Mormons. In some ways, once in a while, you'll see a girl, and you'll say she's a beautiful bride, but she's too young to get married to that old guy.
Oh yeah. So this is what's going on, but I wanted to bring that up tonight. And there's more to the story. We'll continue this one next week. I got a whole lot of talk about with these marriages made in Brooklyn. So we'll bring that up next week. But right now, I'm just going to, give people an idea of what's going on here at the 6 Screens. I want you to know on April 15th, well, that's tax day. I'm not going to remind you the taxes are due, but actually they're not due to the 18th. So you get some time from what I understand. But what I did want to say is I'll be out protesting on the 15th of this month, April. That's when they have the memorial. So I'll be out protesting, and I've already had some people write to me saying they're going to be doing the same thing. So that would be wonderful. We get a worldwide protest. Now, I'm not probably going to have a whole lot of people. It's very hard to get people to protest, but I'll be down there, maybe with just a handful of people, but I don't care if it's just me. I want to stand tall in front of the Kingdom Hall here in Massachusetts, Wilmington, Massachusetts, and let the witnesses know there's a problem in their organization. So we'll be doing that, and we're going to have it live on the 15th right here on YouTube and Facebook. So if you want to see us down at the Kingdom Hall, by all means, tune in to Facebook and YouTube, and you'll be able to see us protesting. And I think you'll find it really fascinating. And we'll be able to talk about why protesting works and why we feel it's a good thing to do. But not everyone wants to do it. And I understand that. I really, really do. And I also want to mention that, we have a lot of people that do YouTube videos today, and including one that writes in here prolifically. Her name is Christy Ann. You want to check some of her videos out. She does a really, really, really good job. And she's always commenting here on the 6 Screens. So, Christy, keep up the good work. And we're going to be doing some YouTube awards coming up here shortly on the 6 Screens. And boy, I'll tell you what, we're going to definitely have you in there. So by all means, keep up the good work, Christy, as well as all of you people on YouTube, all of the people, whether it be Mike and Kim or whoever it be. We got X Curious. He's coming on tonight on Linda's program. Apostababe program tonight. All these Apostababe, all of these different people that are doing YouTube videos. We're Critical Thinker. All of these people, you're doing a fine job. Keep up the good work. All of us together, we can make a difference. That's what we need. We have to unite. We want to unite with each other and keep exposing the Watchtower. It can make all the difference in the world. Now, also, I want to say, if you really like what we're doing here, thank you for joining us tonight. But why don't you subscribe to us if you're on YouTube, or you can like us on Facebook and share what's going on, because the more people that subscribe and like, that means more people can get out of the Watchtower and come to grips with what the Watchtower really is, a dangerous and a destructive cult. Now, there'll be no 6 Screens Sunday tomorrow. That's our day where we discuss spirituality. We don't do it on Saturday night, but we will do it a week from tomorrow. So if you have an interest in the theological teachings of the Watchtower and you're Bible-minded and you love reading the Bible, then by all means join us on the 6 Screens Sunday edition, which will be not this week, but next week. Boy, I have to tell you, too, we are gaining a lot of momentum. We're getting more and more people coming into the 6 Screens every week. After a while, I mean, when you're doing this for 16 years, people find out about it. And we're glad that you want to come in and be with us. Now, I know you're not going to, I know a lot of people don't believe everything they hear on the 6 screens, and I can understand that. I mean, we have so many stories that we tell, but like I say, some of it, you'll have to decide for yourself. Some of the people come on and give their stories. I can't tell whether they're perfectly true or not, but you'll have to be the judge on that. But we appreciate you coming in, at least listening to our programs and helping those that are doing our programs. We have just about 17 different programs on our 6 screens telenetwork. Now, what that is that's a network made up of former Jehovah's Witnesses. And we have a number of them that have programs every week here on the 6 screens on Saturday and every other Sunday. And they're all, for the most part, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. And we really tip our hat to them. They work very, very hard and getting their program together and getting guests on and gaining a lot of momentum. So we're a network in fact, the only network really of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. We're all tied together. And you can hear some of these programs, like after this program, we have Heart to Heart with Dan and Angela Clark. They have a guest coming on tonight. Her name is Laura. She's an ex-witness. So we'll be hearing from her. So we will disconnect this YouTube, and you have to wait about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll bring the other YouTube on with them. So they'll be coming on shortly. And then later tonight as well, we have at 11 o'clock, 11:30, somewhere around there, we have After the Storm with DeLon and Gail. They're not on YouTube, but they're on our 6 screens telenetwork programs. Go to 6 screens at watchtower.com, and you'll be able to find out how to listen in. And then Apostle Babe, she'll be on tonight with Pete, ex-Jehovah's Witness Curious. He'll be on with her tonight. She burns the midnight oil all night long. All right, so what we're going to do now, I'm just going to say this. The last one leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We're going to be going to Angela and Dan Clark, their Heart to Heart program. So I'm going to bring in Anne Marie. Anne Marie, you there with us?
Right here, Rick.
All right, Anne Marie, I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to have you kind of watch the fort here, talk to the people, and then I'm going to get the email off to Dan and Angela for the YouTube stream. So thank you, Anne Marie, and I'll see you just in about 10 minutes. Hang in there. Thank you.
Sounds good. Well, hello, everybody. This is the time of the show on